I think so. There we go. We're live. It's James speaking, trainingsites.io. Just went and grabbed a coffee. Got it here. So this is another live session that we do Wednesday at 1. I will tell you right now, I'm looking out my window and we're in the middle of a freezing rain ice storm. So if for whatever reason we get disconnected or the power goes out, my apologies. We'll do our best to keep a good internet connection and all of that stuff running well. So if you haven't been here before, these are live sessions. Anything is open Q&A. My personal preference, obviously, is that we talk about AI agents, skills, and building out your campus, your education business. So that's usually what I end up focusing on. But we can certainly do that. And at any time, all you need to do is put your questions in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. Or we can work together and see if we can find an answer together to figure things out. So that's kind of what's happening. So if you're here new, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what's going on. Would love to find out what you're working on, and more importantly, some of the things that maybe you want covered or that you've done. You can show us too, so that would be fine. Very, very, very excited to get onto these sessions because so much is happening so quickly, and I have a lot of stuff that I could show you that are going to be done in separate videos, but those ones are, there's just a whole bunch of cool stuff happening in the education space, which I really, really like. So who have we got here? Anyone else for chats? Anyone showing up? Anyone here that wants to talk about anything, please let me know. One of the things I don't know how to do yet, I'm using Ecamm Live for the live streams here. One of the things I don't know is how to get the chats actually to show up transparently on the side. So that's a promise I'll make to try and figure out and get that done for next time so that they actually show up properly. Yeah, so what do you want to talk about? What do you want to see? What's going on in your AI world? Has everyone got a campus already? Are you selling courses or trying to sell courses? Are you just getting started with AI? Do you have an existing course that you're trying to market and maybe are struggling to? Are you trying to position yourself for AI? Are you trying to protect yourself from AI? These are all things that we're having to deal with. And I think they're definitely worth talking about, especially as things are happening so quickly. One of the fun things that I don't know about you, but often what happens is that whenever I'm doing a video or creating content, I just try and take a look back at the things that I got excited about 3 months ago, or 6 months ago, or 9 months ago, as if they were world-changing things that we were able to do so quickly. And now that's happening every day and every week. So, and it's not going to get slower and it's not going to get harder. So, that's the stuff that I'm thinking of when I'm doing these sessions, or the stuff that I do during the day. It's like, how am I going to prepare myself or my business or my education business to be able to share what it is I love doing and all of these experiences I had, but where am I going to put them, or how am I going to leverage them when there is all of this AI agents, any of these skills, all of the content that's available to people? How do I package them up and monetize them? So that's the kind of stuff that I think of on a regular basis. Let me know if that's something that you're concerned about or thinking about as well. And again, any questions, open season here about campus business model and some other cool stuff that I've been not playing around with, some other decisions that I made in how I take a look at what's happening in the AI space. And I know for me personally, if I go, let me just I'm going to pull up a YouTube channel here. And if I'm going to go look at the AI stuff, we'll just go and take a look at AI content here. And one of the things, like this is for me subscribing, for example. These are some of the channels and stuff that I subscribe to on a regular basis. And if I go take a look at these, the majority of them are in two cases right now. A lot of these, for example, are ones that are about agents. People are talking a lot about agents. People are talking a lot about skills, myself included. And there's still people who are talking about tools, AI tools. And I'm talking about things specifically like, using Nano Banana or using Notebook LM or using a specific large language model tool or a tool that does something like build thumbnails, these kinds of things. And as much as that is really, really exciting videos, I think what we're going to see over the next month, and I'm already starting to see it in the people that I follow, is we're going to go, which is kind of, I think, kind of like the final piece of this AI stuff, where we're not going from tools and we're actually looking at operating systems. And what I'm talking about this is like AI businesses, like AI first businesses. What is the operating system or the procedure that all of these agents and AI skills and tools, like where do they fit into and what's the purpose of them? So it's going to be interesting to see over the next month on what happens with this, where it fits in, and how people are starting to use it. Let me know, have you got your AI operating system working? What large language model tool are you using? Are you a ChatGPT user? Are you using Claude? Are you focusing on Gemini? Where is your space and what are you doing with it? Again, this is just super exciting times to work through this. So, Debbie, hey, thank you very much for coming on. Debbie here. There we go. Thank you very much for coming on. If you have some questions, let me know. If not, I can just rant on this stuff forever. And I wouldn't say rant, but I can show you some of the stuff I've been investigating and working on. And there are individual videos for this in the queue. So again, let me know if you want to cover any of those ones and I'll kind of show you what's going on. So give me a thumbs up if you just want to see some of the stuff I'm working on, if you don't have any questions. And again, there's no right or wrong or easy or hard questions. The other cool thing that I'm recognizing through all of this, so there's a couple of questions, and these are ones that I come up with when I'm talking to other people, either in the education space or in the AI space, is there's two things just to recognize, and just keep this in the back of your mind. The first one is that there are some things that I don't know if they're worth learning anymore. Like, do you really need to learn something? What is it that you need to learn, and how deeply do you need to learn it? That's kind of the first one that I'll show you. And Debbie's there. Okay. Okay. So using ChatGPT, because I have multiple custom GPTs that are not offered elsewhere. Okay. So I'm going to show you just the one thing I worked on. And I do have a video on this, and then we'll come back to ChatGPT because that really has a lot to do with AI agents and agent skills. So here's kind of the first thing. And this is one about, do I really need to learn anything? I want to show you, and I'll show you this one here. I'm going to open up. We're on trainingsites.io. Again, if you haven't joined before, it's free to join. Please go and join the community. The link is there. What we're looking at right now is I just opened up trainingsites.io, and we're in the document library. And if you haven't seen this before, pay attention to this one. It's right up here where it says docs. That's the document library. But I am going to show you something that is kind of neat. And if I move over to the right-hand side here, I'm going to make sure the screen's in the right place. I'm logged into the community and I'm on my profile, and I'm just going to go to my projects. Now, this is something that the projects, this is for people who are paid campus members or who are agency clients. But one of the projects that we started to put in was basically a challenge board, or a way to keep people accountable to show their work as to what they're doing and what they're not doing. And I have a video on this, but I just want to show you something while I'm doing this. And I'm going to pull up my challenge board on things that have happened in the last little while. And I'm going to show you one here. I'll just open up mine so we don't show anyone else's. So here's the thing that's really interesting. So what I set up here is, this is just a traditional, if you have a project management tool, like if you're using ClickUp or Monday or something like that, or Rike or any of these other tools, one of the things you can do is you can have a listing of tasks, for example, or a calendar of tasks, or a Kanban board that show different stages and cards. One of the things that I used to do with this, and this is having to do with what you need to learn or not learn, one of the things that I was doing before is if, for example, I said, I want to do something, I would put a new task title in here, and I might go and create it, and I might go and do a whole bunch of stuff, for example, like assign it, have dates, priorities. I might write a description and do a whole bunch of attachments and sub-attachments, subtasks, custom fields, and things like that. And in many cases, if I was doing that, there were a number of steps that I would normally have to do to build something, for example. And here's one of the things that I found just with agent skills and agents, plugins that are actually going and completing things, and why in many cases now, I don't think we have to actually do that. Now, I'm going to just look at this. I have open, in progress, and completed. And this is just my simple one to play around with. What happened is we're going to look at this. So I have build community manager here. I build an offer manager, build a sales manager, and then this is the one that I just did as a test, right? So let me just delete this one here. Actually, I'll keep it here because I can't delete it. And then ones that are in progress and ones that are completed. So here's the thing that's interesting. Yesterday, today's Wednesday, on Monday, I was doing some research and I was trying to figure out, if I do have a department head, a community manager or a sales manager, I want to have an agent or an orchestration agent, that department manager that knows what employees it has, that knows what the employees are supposed to do, knows what information they need and the tools they have. And I just want to be able to hand off that part of the business. Now, normally what would happen if you were using a project management tool, it's like, what would the steps be in building out a community manager? Like doing a specking out what the requirements are and all of these simple tasks. What I did is I just, for having fun, I just said, you know what, why don't we go and, figure out, I needed my topical authority map spreadsheet for a particular topic. I did this 2 days ago is when I started it out. So, but I didn't put anything in there because what I ended up doing is and I just told Claude, I said, I have a topical authority map skill. I want you to create the spreadsheet for this topic. I didn't figure out how to do it. I didn't look at the prompts that I used or custom GPTs in this example. I didn't do anything. I just said, I want a spreadsheet. And I ended up, I've got 7,500 questions broken into 30 subtopics, subcategories, and 10 subtopics for each. So I've got 7,500 questions around one particular space that is a map of the content that I'm working on. So I didn't know how to do that other than the fact that I wanted this content map available. I didn't figure out how to learn how to prompts. I didn't understand how to use or be able to do prompt engineering. I didn't understand how to format the actual spreadsheet. I didn't learn any of that. I handed off a task that was carried out autonomously for me. And I think, the part, do we have to learn or not learn? I'm not quite sure that there are pieces of our business that we have to learn about now. It's like we have to know what we want, but we don't know how to do it. And just to give you an example of how powerful this is, in the last 2 days, I actually here, if we look on this one, I built a WordPress plugin to manage my events. And I also built a class manager, which is an orchestration level above it, that manages all of the live events and works on the WordPress plugin. I have an offer manager. I have a YouTube validation piece that I built, which looks after my 600 videos on YouTube to analyze the audience that we had against the content map that I built out to see if there was a mix there. I also redid the Claude Cowork folders, which I have another video on. The dashboards are almost done. The spreadsheets I'm still working on. So I have the spreadsheets for 2 topics. So these ones are actually working. They're scheduled. I can show you that in a second. And this morning, before I got on, the offer manager, the community manager, and the sales manager are all completed. and I can show this to you. So here's the part that is really exciting. First of all, I had no idea if I'd looked at 3 months ago or 6 months ago and was trying to figure out like what could I have got done. This has been done in the last 48 hours, and that's including writing WordPress plugins for the campus. So that's actually having Claude go and create plugins and test plugins that do a specific part on the website, which is my content management software. I'm using WordPress for this on my own hosting with my own data all in one place. But I didn't know how to create WordPress plugins. I don't need to anymore. I didn't go have to take a coding program or something. I don't need to anymore. I don't need to learn that. I have had to be very clear on what I wanted done, but I'm handing off parts of the business to other places. And I think, skills are kind of interesting. Uh, Keith there, hope you're getting on. Is everything okay there? Keith was just asking one of the members, yeah, getting in, but I'm here. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, thanks for coming on. So this whole idea of what is it that we need to work on, I think, is dramatically changing, and this has to do with the agents and the skills. So uh, if you have, Debbie, if you have a particular ChatGPT idea, or one that you have that you like, or one that you have that you might want to improve, put it in the chat there, and we can actually go and see if we can do it as a skill in Claude and or a gem in Gemini to extend what you can do with ChatGPT. Because I think there's some differences that might be exciting when you go and start playing around with actual skills as opposed to customized prompts and resources in ChatGPT. So this is one of the things that I'm working on here is this whole idea of doing sprints and challenges and being able to get stuff done quickly. I'm flabbergasted at what we are able to get created just in the last 48 hours. So I will show you right now. We'll just go take a look at the Claude folders, and I'll just show you why this is important. If you haven't used Claude before, and I'll open up a screen, this is actually one. This is actually one of the ones that I generated the title for this call. But when you're in Claude on the browser, a curriculum builder as a custom GPT. So Debbie has a curriculum builder as a custom GPT. Okay, here we go. So, okay, so I'm just going to show you one piece here. It's when you're in Claude for the desktop, which I highly recommend. If you're on just a regular Claude account, you'll see that there's like a new chat. You can do a new chat, but there's no tasks. If I go and I open up we'll do this one here. I'm just going to show you another thing here. This is one that we just got on this morning. When I was working on, I'm scheduling a recurring task in Claude. So this one is the daily morning intelligence report. So for the community revenue, industry news, AI vendor updates, and content opportunities, it runs every morning at 7. I just told Claude to go and schedule that, so it's going to do it automatically for me every morning and get me a report that goes to a dashboard. So there we go, already exists. Let me check the state and we'll see what's actually working here in the background. So here's a part I just wanted to show you. When you're working on the desktop, there's a couple additional pieces that show up. One of them is at top here, which is co-work. And this is where the agents or the recurring tasks can work. But this is a much more interactive way to deal with your content. And I'll show you why in a couple seconds here. So here we go. So just to show you, we got morning intelligent report. I've got the campus ambassador that runs in the morning. In the evening, I've got one of the ones that generates that topical authority map. It's running in 2 days a week for one topic, 2 days a week for another one. I have a partnership scanner that's running, and I have a weekly newsletter. So these are tasks that are automatically running. So here's the part that's kind of neat, and I'm just going to show this to you. And this is kind of the business operating system that I was talking about. This piece of software right here that I'm showing you, this one is called Anti-Gravity, and this is the one. This is the one from Google, and you don't have to understand what it is right now. The only reason I'm showing it to you is because if you look on the left-hand side here, I'm just going to go and we'll open up the folder again. going to do a refresh on this. And we're not going to get the refresh on this one. I did want to show you the one that we had here, but all of the plugins were updated. Let me just see if I open it and close it again. The reason I was going to show you is because I have the operating system now broken into the different tasks or things that we do on a regular basis. So you had a curriculum builder, and if we were in, we'll open up this one too. We'll open up ChatGPT just so we can look as an example. So in mine, I have GPTs that are here. I have, where's one? I have a resume analyzer that I built for one of the members. I have one that is for, there's a lesson. Here's one here. This is one that I did originally. And again, this is one, Debbie, just to kind of look at this. So this one turns video transcripts into LMS ready with a summary, framework, prompts, and drafts, okay? So what I would do is I would just go and paste in the bottom, I'd paste in a transcript. And we can do that quickly just to see what happens. And you'll see the difference between ChatGPT and a skill as an example. So let's go we'll do a new one up here. I'm going to go and we'll go and get a transcript right now. I'm going to open this one up and I'm going to get the URL. Somewhere, I'm just going to grab the share here. I'm going to copy it. And in mine, if I have a transcript or a video and I want to go, I have this automated as a skill, but I'm going to show you how to do it manually just because we're here. And that's the way my ChatGPT was set up. So I do this all automatically now. But if I was using a ChatGPT, I'd put the piece in here. I get an exact transcript from it. And this is a free service, youtube-transcript.io, we've talked about before. And hopefully my internet connection is going to stay here. Hi, Kelly Kerr. Hi, kids. Hello, hello. Welcome on. So there's our transcript. So I'm going to go and copy that. So I got a copy of it. And then we're going to go to ChatGPT again. And I'm in a custom GPT. And I'm going to say this was for taking YouTube transcripts and turning it into a lesson. So there we go. And my custom GPT is, in my case, it's turning it into not a full curriculum, but it is putting together a lesson summary, a framework, and some additional pieces that are here. So this is the way the custom GPT was built out. I had a specific structure that I wanted for the framework. I had a specific output that I wanted in terms of key takeaways, a lesson summary. I wanted it to, for example, underscore a framework so that we could use it. And then there's, prompts that were created as a result of it. So these are all things that were done in a custom GPT. And if you haven't used these before, this would be great. I can go and play around with this as much as I want. But unless you did a little more complex one, it's like, there we go, Keith. I think we're okay. So yeah, just by the way, I just want to mention this. It is an ice storm here where I'm living, and it's ice accumulating on the wires now. So whether or not things disappear, I apologize for that, or my internet connection gets slow. That might happen as well. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So I have a custom GPT. I created the custom GPT to take a transcript and turn it into a lesson. That could have been a curriculum, and a custom GPT is great for that. And if you haven't done custom GPTs, just so that you know what happens is when you work on these, for example, we had this lesson factory one. I can go and edit that custom GPT. And when you edit them, you have the ability to make some good changes to them. What are the instructions that you want the custom GPT? Some starters, and then I can also include a whole bunch of reference documents that it uses to ground itself, and whether though that be content or frameworks or other documentation or other lessons, basically does a lot of really cool things there. But for me, for this, even if I go back to this and I take a look at that chat that we've had, the one that we just ran, I'll go back to it. Where we go? the one that we just ran. I don't know if we had a, I don't know if I can pull it up again. Might be here. No, it's gone in the history. I didn't save it. So what I'm saying is we would have had to take that and copy it. And then maybe we might want to go to our campus as an example, and then go and create a course and then cut and paste it in. And there's no context about, is this course, how does it fit into another course? Or yes, it follows the instructions were in the custom GPT, but what happens from there? So the skills are a little bit different to do that. Link to the GPT to check it out. Yeah, Debbie was just saying, yeah, you could definitely send that, uh, send that, and we can play around with it and look at it. So here's kind of the point that I'm trying to get across. I used custom GPTs, and I like custom GPTs for kind of one-off quick ways of getting a consistent answer when I'm using ChatGPT, which I use less frequently now. And here's why I'm doing that. When I'm working live now within Claude, as an example, and I'm in Claude, we'll just go to chat for now, just as an example. But if I want to have a task done, instead of asking a custom GPT to do that, right now I use or have a library of skills that I have. And skills are fundamentally different than skills are different, for example, than a custom GPT. And if you take a look at this, um, here's the difference between them. So I think I have one on curriculum. Where's one? Course module writer. So for example, I have a course module writer. And then what this one does is an example. This is a skill. So writes a complete course module with lessons, real world examples, practice assignments. Use that skill when everyone says write a module, create lessons, or build course content. So this is when that skill works, okay? Or wants to turn a topic into, and it actually does and builds out an entire course. So it has some instructions on when the skill runs, what it can be used for. If it doesn't get information, it will ask to help out. And it has the structure that I have for the lessons that I put in, the module overview, the lessons overview, what's in them. So it's got a set, like in custom GPT, it's got a set way that I want stuff to be doing. But it also includes, if you look here, I've got templates that are now set up so that it always creates the content the exact same way. Now, here's the cool thing with this, and this is why skills are so important. I have one skill here that we used. However, if, for example, I'm playing around on my site and I go to and look at the campus again, I have a library of skills, because in many cases what happens is when you're playing around with these, right? Let me just make sure. There we go. Come back to this second. So just want to make sure I get that off there. There we go. So I have a library of skills, and this is a part that is really cool. If I have these skills available to me, skills are interesting because they are stackable. And what that means is that you can run them in sequence. So if you, for example, are going to create a course and you have a skill that creates the course, what are some of the things that normally happen after that? Is there another task that you complete? Is it something like going and posting it to an LMS? Is it doing a review document? Is it creating a checklist? Is it creating a brief? Is it creating a product description because you're going to sell it, or a sales page? There's all sorts of stuff that happens after, right? Now, the cool thing is the skill can actually go and hand off its work to another skill, so that you can start automating things like, I want to publish a course on this topic, to actually having it go and create the course, create the quizzes, create the flashcards, create a slide deck, post it to your LMS. do social media posts for it, write an email sequence to market it, write an email sequence to onboard the new people, create tags in the LMS when people register, create a product description for the brand new course. So these skills can be stacked on top of each other. And that's why, I get a little bit of I got a little bit of pushback because I think of each of these skills as individual employees. Now, some people say that an employee can have multiple skills. I personally prefer to think of having an individual employee that is really, really, really good at one thing. And what it can do is hand off its work to another employee when it needs to. So that's the way I personally look at it. And I look at this skills library that I put together, which is free for everyone here. There's 250 skills that are here for you. You can go and download them and make them your own. Just edit them to make them your own. But I have all sorts of them that are all about courses or lessons or content or social media or posting. They're broken into, for example, there's 46 of them about content. So, for example, about building out case studies, being able to do just plan out content or repurpose content, or a course module writer as an example, or email campaign builders. So these are all ones that are not like using a custom GPT to get some output. These are ones that complete a particular task. One employee does it. And if that output is required for the next employee, it is able to have that and able to have it hand off to the person. So, take a look a little bit bigger of what are the processes. What is an actual step-by-step process that I go through in my education business? So not how do I generate an output, but how do I have an AI operating system, which is the thing that I think is going to be exciting for 2026, because we're all in a position now with these employees that we can spin up at any time that we want. And in fact, now with agents that, in my opinion, again, this is the way I think of them. It's not a programmably, or I don't know what the word is. A programmer wouldn't use it or apply it this way. This is the way I do it from a business perspective. I'm thinking of, I have these skills, which are my employees, and what I'm doing personally is I am looking for the departments or the managers for groupings of employees to complete a specific uh, part of my business that I don't want to be doing it. So think of having a sales manager, or in my case, I have a community manager now. So it's anything to do in the campus, the training sites campus. I have a agent now that has a whole bunch of employees that do a whole bunch of different things that are related to the community. And I have my community manager run every day. It's running all of the time basically, and it looks at what employees are doing and it schedules employees to do jobs at a particular task. Now, I'm up at the top of this operating system, and I get a report every morning now that lets me know what the different departments are doing, areas that I should be looking at. But it's not me doing all of this work anymore. It's these departments that I've created, each with these individual skills. So I look at it as employees and departments, or employees and managers, and I'm just kind of at the top of this. But this operating system, which is the exciting part for all of us now, is that we've got to get past which tool to use to get which output, to how am I going to build out my campus AI operating system so that I can run this as a business and not necessarily learn how to do everything ourselves, but understand what do we need done, and then being able to hand it off to an agent and either let it create the skills it needs or provide the skills that it needs. And you're the one that creates the skills. You can say, yeah, that's the way I want it done, or no, I don't want it done that way. But you are hiring those employees to meet your requirements. And now we've got a manager that is able to know what employee do I need at what time to manage my community, to grow my sales, to create campus content, to run the financials, to do social media. So this is the exciting part for 2026, is just figuring out what is my operating system for my education business. I think we're past the content part. I think we're past the course part. This year, and I would think You can already do it to some extent, but if you have content on your site, you can make an agent that would allow someone to come in and say, create a course from the content on this campus that answers this question. And the agent will basically spit out a course based on your content, but it's a course that's personal to them, has the information that's already in your campus, but it's organized in a way that answers the questions they have and the questions that they need to get their to or whatever their outcome is based on your community and the expertise that you have. So, this is kind of a neat place to be in right now. And all I'm doing is suggesting is that if you're starting with ChatGPT, which is where I think a lot of people get introduced to this, getting a really, really good prompt and repeatedly getting the same answer, start taking a step up now, 2 steps up actually, and start thinking about what are the processes that run in my business and what employees do I need and departments do I need to get that done, and then start focusing on those and iteratively going through them. And I've done, I think, 4 or 5 variations now. And I'll show you right now in the campus. And again, I have some videos on this. If you haven't joined the campus, it's free to join there. Please come in, have some fun as we go through that. And let me just open up. I'm going to open up the chat here. I'll open up Claude to show you. This is a conversation I had this morning, and this is one of the ones we were just working on. So I'll do this one here. Going to open this up. This one was in Cowork. There we go. Make sure I'm in the right place here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you the kind of the way that this is the way I actually set up my AI operating system for the campus. And these are kind of the groupings. And I have a video on this one right now. So when I'm using WordPress as a content management system. So my content is there, my educational content is there. And I started off, and we've got 4 main managers. I have a community manager, I have a marketing manager, I have a sales manager, and then I have an orchestrator, which is kind of a chief operating officer, if you will. So having said that, those are the ones that I've kind of figured out how to do. Those are the ones that I want to be able to hand off work to. So this is actually in Claude, and again, this is covered in Claude Cowork. This is the operating system that I have started to be built out. And I have a community manager section of the operating system, which does stuff like all the Fluent community, all of the bookings, all of the CRM, contents, carts, all of that stuff is there. And that's what it has access to. I have the marketing manager one, which has access to the CRM, social media, some scraping, some other tools. And it has a number of content strategy pieces, campaigns, analytics are here. I have a sales manager section, a monitoring section, a library, which are the skills and plugins, active work. And these ones here, as an example, are all ones that are about running the business. And many of these, I don't know how to actually create some of them. I had Claude create them and organize them. I have to test them to see if the results that I get are the ones that I want, and then ask, how can I improve this? How can I streamline it? How can I make it a little bit easier? So these are kind of the cool things that are happening with these AI agents. There we go. So what other questions here? And training sites with the link. Perfect. Thank you very much, Debbie. What else we have here? Keith, any other questions on this? I have a video on this piece right now that I'll publish after. And I did a video, I think, last week talking about all the mistakes that I made when I was using Claude. And this was the big one. I had no folder structure or no AI operating system. And that's what this particular piece is now, where I have my departments who have a set of instructions and rules to run by, tasks that they're supposed to do. I have all of the tools that they need to get those done available for them. And I have the employees that they have under their control to get these things done. And the cool part, of course, is now when we're doing this, and this is the other part that we're working on right now, is I can schedule these to run daily, hourly, weekly, monthly, whenever that I want. So you now have these autonomous departments now that can start to run, and it's our job to get that report in the morning, make adjustments, ask the department head to maybe change things around a little bit, or this isn't working, this is working, ask for some suggestions on how it could be improved, and let it go and talk to its employees to figure out what can I add, alter, edit, delete to get a better outcome. And the outcome is I want more people in the community. I want more people converted to paid customers. I want more people in the classes. I want more revenue or a higher conversion rate. I want a bigger email list. I want more engagement on social media. These are the things we have to think about, not how do I get more engagement on social media or how do I write better web copy. I don't think we have to learn that anymore. I'm asking my agent, who has a lot more knowledge than me and a lot bigger access to these resources, to say, I want you to create better copy, not teach me how, or don't output copy because I gave you this prompt. It's like, I have a goal. I want better conversion on the emails, or I don't want to have to do this task, do it on a recurring basis. And then let me know how you're going to do it. It's an employee. Let me know how you're going to do it. I'll take a look at it, mark it as a draft. I'll manually sign off on it, and then you can send it. But again, this is a relationship that is different than having an AI prompt and an AI response. And this is 2026. So start thinking about your AI operating system, what employees you need, and what department managers that you need, or agents that you need to actually orchestrate and control which employees are required, what context do they need to know, what instructions do they need to know, what tools do they need to have access to, and what are the goals and outcomes that you want them to focus on. So it's kind of cool that this is a next progression. And if you're listening to this after, one thing that I haven't noticed here is I haven't talked about Notebook LM. I haven't talked about, thumbnail software as a service. I haven't talked about, some particular tool that does something. This is my gist on it. This is the next area that is going to be the big focus, is you're going to see people talking about AI operating systems and AI at the business level, not deep down in the tool level, where we're still trying to figure out what should I get Notebook LM to do, or what should I get this tool to do in terms of an output, and then how do I fit it all together. I think AI is more than capable enough to doing great content that is more than acceptable and more than personable, that people who are in your campus will be able to learn, understand, and apply to be able to get a particular outcome, if you know what that kind of outcome is. So there we go. Yeah, so Keith, one of the things, important definition because it shapes the content I'm building. And I got an awful lot of pushback when I did this video about my view of employees and managers. And if you're talking to someone who's like a software programmer or a coder that looks at the technical definitions of AI skills and MCP and these words that you hear thrown around, um, they're correct. Like I'm not arguing with them. I'm looking at it or framing it and is, how do I apply it to an education business? What are the pieces that I need to know? What are the ones, or what do I have to think of when I'm using a skill? Or the other one that you'll hear is one called a plugin. And I will show you that one too, because I really didn't. This is the one that gets a little bit confusing, is a plugin. Let me just pull this one up here. We'll go back to Cowork. So I'm on the desktop right here. I'm in the Claude desktop, a paid plan. Cowork is here at the top. You can see my mouse moving. And then the other thing we have are these customize here. And you'll see that we now have, if I go on this one, I have personal plugins. So let's go here and go skills. These are all skills that I'm actually using. And these are some, you said you were using custom GPTs. These ones are a little bit different. Let me just see if there's another one here. So here's an example of, here's a little bit of a different one, just to give you an example on how skills can have tools. So this one is, I have let's say I have a particular course or I have content that I want to sell. So I have that, let's say a course, just as an example. What this skill does is it basically goes and it says, I want you to look at that course, or in this case, it was a cohort. What I want you to do is I want you to create the web copy for the sales cart as a product. I want you to set it up as a product in my shopping cart. So not only did it analyze the product, it created the web copy, and because it has access to a tool, which in my case is that MCP connector that I talked about, these connectors that are here on the left-hand side, I have access to Fluent Cart, which is in one of the ones here. So what that means is if I'm there, it's going to do the research, look at the copy, generate the web copy, and then it actually goes and it puts the web copy into the shopping cart as a product. So that's not a custom GPT that is running code, that is connecting to other tools. That is just a skill that an employee that is really, really good at taking a course piece of content and turning it into a product in the shopping cart. Now, having said that, that's one employee that's really good at doing that. What about if I wanted one that was email pricing strategy advisor? So I might, say, hey, put the web copy together, but then talk to the pricing strategy advisor on how this should be priced. Maybe I just say, okay, and then once it's there, write some emails about that particular piece. So anytime it's got a different product there, this will go through, and this one, what it does is it says, generates complete fluent CRM ready emails with multiple persuasion frameworks, problematic solution, story, direct objection handling, urgency. It's got some different storytelling styles, and it actually creates an email series. So when you get into these things about having the skills, and this is the process that you follow, what are the ones that are there? And these are my employees, right? So the reason I'm showing you this is the next kind of piece of this is something that Claude calls plugins. And this is where I get, I don't know if it's kind of, the way that I'm doing it isn't the way that a technical programmer would look at it. But for me specifically, when I'm looking at these plugins, let me just see if I have one here. One of the ones I did for, and again, one of the ones that I did for um, one of the other students here at trainingsites.io, who's a professor at a college, one of the things that they have to do is they have multiple employees that they need to do something, but they need to do it every time there's a class. And they need to they had to create interactive activities for the particular class. They had to have an agenda. They had to have a presentation created. They had to have the resource list that was there. They had to have use cases. They had a prep document and a publish because they wanted to put it on the LMS. So a plugin is kind of like a grouping of employees that is something that's there that has a number of employees for a specific outcome. In this particular one, it's like, I got to get ready for my next class. So it's got 6 employees that are involved in that particular process. So now we've got the live class prep agent as an example, which takes multiple employees, runs them through those employees to do a number of outputs, and then it has a finished task at the end. So those ones are called plugins. Some people call them agents. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but these are more like departments to me. So, I've got my class department. This one is handling class prep. The ones that I was talking about the department heads, are the ones that are all about all the live classes and have these kind of agents available to run when they need to, and they know when to need one. So for example, if it's, you have a class on Wednesday, you can have this one scheduled on Tuesdays to go and run it. So the prof, or you have it before Wednesday morning, and it's got all of your stuff done. So it's just kind of think of all of these things that you're playing around with. What are the processes and how do they kind of fit in with that? So what else we got for questions? Anything else you want to do, and places you want to see? Do you want to build a skill? Do you want to take a look at how they work? What do we got here? Anything here that is of interest to you? And again, I'm not perfect at these. Do I have some of the naming incorrect? I'm sure that I do. I'm looking at it from a business perspective and an educational business perspective, and I'm looking at it from what do I have as assets or my operating system to build out the business that is about education. And my personal belief, and this is the other thing I think I'm seeing, at least in the feeds that I follow or the people that I follow on YouTube or subscribe to. And if you haven't, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, of course. But the part that I'm seeing is we're talking about an AI operating system, which is something people are building out. And then the other thing we're talking about is being a moat or having something it's defensible. And the reason that I'm building out the campus is that platform, that personally branded platform that is available to you. The thing that's in the campus that AI can't reproduce is the people who are in the campus. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that when we're building out any of these skills that we are talking about, these skills are based on the content that is within my community. So if you have your own community and the skills are pulling from your content, your community infrastructure, your emails that you've sent out, your videos that you've recorded, your transcripts that you have from the YouTube videos, your Zoom calls, the skills are being applied to your content. And that cannot be reproduced. The skill can be reproduced, but when you generate the output or the activity or the tasks get completed, that is yours and that can't be duplicated. And the bigger your community and the more people that you have in your campus, that platform that you can share from and the other people can share from, it is a focused experience, hopefully, that will generate the content that people have raised their hand and said, yeah, I'm interested in this kind of stuff. So that's the first part. The second part is, and this is what I found really interesting, again, just for me personally, I've always been a big fan. I'm all in on YouTube. I don't do any other marketing other than YouTube. And the reason I do it is the transcripts. That's the first thing. The thing that I did recently, just to do a recap, and this is another reason why I think YouTube is so important. If you are in the education space, and you might be doing social media or some kind of marketing to get people into your course or courses to purchase your static course. The problem that I see, again, personally, you can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you believe it or don't. That's fine as well. But here's the part that I think is kind of interesting, is that when we're actually doing these transcripts in these YouTube videos, you gather or get all of the transcripts that you use for the skills, but you also now have all of your audience research done for you. And if you create a course hoping to sell it to someone else, 99 times out of 100, the course that you built is for yourself, not the individual people that may or may not be consuming that content. So that's a whole other story. I think the course business is effectively dead. I think the campus education business is the one that will survive moving forward. And here's the reason that you can validate that. And this is why I say give away your content, put it on YouTube. And I did this, did a recap last week. It was actually in that project board, is I took all of the stats from the YouTube analytics. So this is kind of the process, and I did a video on this. So what I had before, and if you haven't done this, let me just show you, I'm going to show you a little trick here. You can do this yourself. So what I've done, and we'll pull this up here. I'll show you what I did. So in the docs, and you guys have these prompts. I have it as a skill now, but the prompts are here if you want to get started or you want to create a skill on it. So in this particular one, I'm going to do my topical authority map. I think it show up with that one. Where is it? We'll do this one. I think I had it with that. There we go. Where is it? Content or topical authority map. So this is basically a series of prompts that I created. And the reason I created is that if you have a topic, not a niche, but a topic This is a way to generate 10 subcategories, 30 intent related subcategories, and then 25 questions on each of those. So you end up with 7,500 questions that are specific to the topic that your campus is about. Now, in the past, people might have done like, I have to do SEO research and pick my top 10 keywords. I don't think that's worth the time, energy, and effort right now. I'm saying build a topical authority map, and this is what your campus and your community is about. Now, the thing is, you build this up front, and this is why YouTube's really important. I have this built out. I have a whole bunch of spreadsheets that were done. I just redid them. And again, I'll put the link here below. It's in Docs if you haven't seen this. And if you just go to Docs and do a search for topical authority map or content map, these set of prompts will go up. So basically this just says, I want to create a topical authority map. My main core topic is whatever it happens to be. It's basically saying, give me 30 semantically relevant, unique subtopics, and then underneath it gives me 10 categories, and then 25 questions for each category. So we end up with this huge listing of questions, which is one that I have. So what I did is I went and I said, you know what? I have this map on what I think people are interested in, and I have my ideal customer profile of the people that I think I'm selling to. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to confirm that from all of the videos that I did. So I went to YouTube Analytics and I told Claude, I said, here is my topical authority map. Here's my ideal customer profile. What I want you to do is compare it to the people who have actually been watching my YouTube video. And this is an easy way to validate what it is that the people you are attracting are looking for, what you think they are looking for, to make sure that there's a match there, that ideal customer profile. And from that, then you can build out your offers and the content that you're creating to match what you think they are and what is actually happening. So that's just a real easy way to validate what it is, as opposed to creating a course, hoping that someone's going to buy it, and guessing on how they want to actually learn it or get involved with it. So, one of the things I always get a kick out of, and again, this is just me ranting. Let me know if I'm out to lunch on this one. But many of the people, like if I'm like you, if I'm on Facebook or I'm thinking about different things that are kind of happening on Facebook. I don't know about you, but on my feed, I see a lot of people who are doing sponsored ads, for example, or any of the other social media platforms. I see a lot of people that promote a course or selling courses. And all of those things have one thing in common, and that is that they're all buying ads to get cold leads to take a course or consume content. Um, and to some extent, that may work by the numbers. However, I don't think that's a long-term strategy, as more and more people start realizing that, if I had a challenge right now and I said, hey, give me a topic, I can have a course made in the next hour to do that particular topic that will be as good as, in terms of content, anything that you can go and purchase right now. And in fact, I did that, I guess, about a month ago for someone. Start to finish. The course, the lessons, the modules added to the actual LMS. It was done about an hour and a half it took me to get it kind of uploaded and just cleaned up with a couple formatting issues. But as people get a little more comfortable with this, and it even gets easier to do, if you are going out to cold customers who don't know who you are, who haven't seen you on YouTube, you have no rapport, no trust, and you have to pay them to at least consider you, that is a very expensive way to do business, and I don't think it's viable, especially for people that don't have huge budgets, or people that have traditional existing businesses that are now struggling trying to maintain their old business model, which is another thing that I'm starting to see as well. As some of the big companies in the education space, I get reports every morning, just trying to figure out where are companies like Teachable or Kajabi or Thinkific or Circle or all of these softwares as a service. It's interesting to see how they're all trying to position themselves as this transition goes away from put a course here and sell your course. that whole business model has no legs on it, in my opinion, uh, unless you want to pay for it, and or you have a million people who already know, like, and trust you. And again, that can't be bought, or it can be bought, or it can be earned. And I think having your own platform or campus and focusing on getting people into your ecosystem is kind of the way that we're going to be able to do that, that has some long-term success to it. And it's hopefully something that is fun for you to actually go and play around with. So how long have I been talking here? Holy mackerel, an hour already. What else do you want to see? Anything else to play around with? Any other questions, things, let me know. There's all sorts of stuff, obviously, I can talk about with this. The big thing, in my opinion, skills, agents, and operating systems. That's where 2026 is all about, and building out your campus and having your campus AI operating system. This is kind of the cool thing that's happening. And if you haven't, or you don't have your own campus, make sure to go join. It's free to get in and see mine. And the way that this one works, just so that you can see it, is, and this is on WordPress, and WordPress is a content management software or system that you install on your own hosting with your own database. So that's the first thing, just to make sure people kind of understand that. The other thing that's happening here on my content management system is I do have a couple of specific plugins that are for running a community and education business. And they're from a WordPress developer that has a Fluent, it's called Fluent Community, Fluent CRM, Fluent Cart. So there's a bunch of them that are here. This is Fluent Community, and you'll see it looks very similar to softwares as a service, for example, like Circle, where we have across the top menus, the main areas, for example, what they call courses still, which I have to live with right now, tutorials, which are all my YouTube videos that have, for example, all of the YouTube video, and then also the transcripts are turned into particular lessons and or content based. Again, this is all created by an agent. I never did any of this. So there's 200 and some that are here that are published right now. I have all of the study halls, which are areas or spaces for members and paid members. I have the skills library. We have the paid agents that are here, the classes, documents, and members. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see there's a whole bunch of particular areas there. So please, come in and join, ask some questions, share what you're doing. This is a show your work kind of situation for all of us. And I think that's the other thing that I'm learning is that the live training and education is back. And I've heard the term like a back of the room teacher. I think that's a viable mentor or guidership role that people are willing to pay for. That's what I charge for right now. If you upgrade to a Campus VIP, is we have daily classes that we work on. And what I'm trying to get across is that this is a show your work situation. And showing your work means, what did you experiment? What worked? What didn't work? The cool stuff about this, and even the stuff I went over today, my AI operating system and skills are different than yours. Mine may work in one situation, yours may work in another one. But we can both learn off of each other to find out, hey, I tried this, it worked, or tried that, it wasn't even close. But you can start learning from each other. And if we start showing our outputs and our challenges and how we got there, that's the way that we can actually learn. So, like, show your work, fail as fast as you can, break stuff as fast as you can. There's no golden bullet in a course, as this is the only way to do things. There's AI skills you can build and try and iterate on to get the outcomes that you want. And there's agents that can either really automate or operate your business the way you want, or that you have to figure out, how do I add or edit or delete or make sure that I'm doing the stuff that I like doing, which is like doing YouTube videos or talking to people live on Zoom, and all of the other stuff is able to get done. So there we go. So let me just look else. We got a couple more questions here. So here's one. This is one that's interesting. I'm going to put this here because Keith was asking, I don't want to build courses. In fact, I already have skill that will build curriculum courses, web tours, and scavenger hunts as the list goes on. I'm trying to figure out what the format is to offer. And this is a great example, I think, of what's happening is that, and I've seen a couple of our members do that as well, where they're actually building either mini apps and or skills that they give to people, but are running off of their internal data. And this is closer than you think. And I've shown this before, but I just reminded myself of it. If you go to Google Labs, we'll do this one here. We'll do Flow is one of them, but I'll get there. Here's another one, just off on a side. Is Google announced yesterday Google Workspace, or that last week, Google Workspace CLI. And what that is that is an agent way for Claude, for example, to talk to Google Docs, Google Sheets, Gmail, PowerPoint, chat, all of that stuff in one place. And this is part of it is Workspace, which is the flow where you can start automating all sorts of tasks, which is another story for another video. So let me just do this one here. I'm trying to get to the right place. So we got do labs, get the right place. Not blabs, we need there, labs.google experiments. Now this is the one, this is the one I'm going to pull up here. Here's the one to just be, Keith was talking about, don't want courses, you want a place to build stuff out. And this is if someone wants to learn. This one here is at labs.google/experiments. Now, this is the cool one that I'm excited about, is that if you go and open up Disco, so if you're old enough, you know what a Disco is, and you remember maybe going to one. But if I go to Disco right here and open up Disco, it's on the wait list. I can't get in here in Canada. You might be in the States. But the way that this one works is you can actually have, and there's the video that's here, they have a couple good examples, but most of them are about like shopping or maps or travel, that kind of thing. But the one that I was really interested in is this one here. Now there's a couple things that are neat about this, is that these tabs across the top here, these are just web pages. So imagine this is your website. Imagine this is documents. Imagine this is something that's a skill, a transcript, a lesson. If you had 2 or 3 tabs open, what Disco does is it will actually create apps, interactive apps, based on the tabs that are open and the content that is in the tabs. So, if you're thinking, how do I want to learn something? Do I create a course, or do I create the content in the community that is relevant to that topical authority map and those 7,500 questions people have? How do I kind of make these available to interactive apps where someone can go and just say, explain in the chat, explain how this works. What happens if? Give me an example of, and it actually goes and it's building out the actual content for you throughout the different piece. So, things like that, why bother with a course? Why would you even consider a course when you know that this stuff is around the corner? And I know I say that, that's the way I look at it. I just want to put it with a grain of salt. Am I saying that there is no need for courses? I'm saying there's no need for courses if all they are is content. If it is something that needs the person to do something as a result of it, and it contains the instructions of what need to be done and how it needs to be done, there's value in that as long as you have someone who's holding them accountable. And that can be that challenge board that we looked at the past, or it might be one-on-one coaching, but that guidance and mentoring on the application of what used to be called a course. If it's just content, I don't think, that's gone. But if it is part of a recipe or a unique workflow that you have that you need to make sure that someone follows, that I think has value in it if you're involved. And in fact, I kind of playing around with the term as like a reversed cohort. So it's like, here's the skills that you need to apply. Here's the agents you need to use. So go do it. And those agents basically, here's the content, Here's how to do it. Go and practice, and then have the coaching call, the class, the accountability class, to see if someone has actually done it. And I think that's a far better way of looking at it now. It's not giving content to people, but giving agents and skills to people to run themselves to generate the content that they need, and or on their own, or generate within your content and your recipes, and then come back and talk about it and look for those edge cases or what worked, what didn't work. And then you're the expert. You're able to guide people and mentor people through that. So these are the things that are here. These are the things that are getting easier. These are the things that are going to be coming out in the next 3 months, the next 6 months. And if you're thinking of a business and you know that this is here, it's already available on the site. Some people have this. If you know it's there, how are you going to structure your business around all of these things? And I just don't think having that whole idea of a course business, we're in, me personally, I don't buy it anymore. Now, again, different topics, different areas, I get that. Just keep your mind open to experiment and just say there might be a different way to do things now that doesn't necessarily relate to a course business. It's like a learning business. What needs to be learned, what needs to be skilled or agented, and then how does that actually get applied and implemented? That's the kind of way that I'm thinking of it. So what else we got? Any more questions here? Give me a thumbs up if this is of interest to you. Let me know what you're thinking. These are all things waitlisted. Yeah, Keith was just saying it's waitlisted here too. It has been for a while. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that one. I have a big feeling. I have a big feeling on the whole Google thing moving forward. Is Google wants to keep people in its ecosystem. I get that. They've got a whole bunch of somewhat interconnected pieces, and I'm seeing their start to bring things together. And again, just an example of that is I'm still a fan of Notebook LM. Sometimes I harsh it a little bit, but I'll pull this one up for you, Notebook LM. Just examples of this is that when you're creating notebooks, for example, and you have all of this output that you've created. I'm on Notebook LM. I just opened up a notebook. The ability to share these is going to be coming along. And I think, this is a good example with Disco. If you have 3 notebooks shared and you had that Disco interface create apps based on your notebooks, bam, that's a whole other explosion. The other thing that's happening is, as this gets to roll out and I work on these and I go to Gemini from Google and I take a look at it, one of the things that's happening now is if I go look in this, on this one here, on add files, it's got Notebook LM now that's available. So we're getting to this point where all of the things are getting very, very interconnected in terms of the content that's available to us. The question becomes, how do we kind of use this and manipulate it again into that AI operating system? But Notebook has started to show up in a whole bunch of other Google tasks. The one that we were looking at earlier, which was that Flows one, flows.workspace.google.com. And let me just open up this one here because it was interesting as well. We'll just do the, so this is the other one that was announced. So this one is Google announced open source CLI tool command line interface that provides access to Gmail, Drive, Calendar, Docs, and Sheets. It was designed for both human use and integrating with AI agents. So here's the part that I think is coming together. If I go back and we take a look at that Workspace Studio, this one, if you've played around with it before, again, it's free. This one was, this one is notify me about emails from key people. So for example, this is like a workflow that you can create, which has things about your calendar, about chat, about sheets, about documents, about Gmail, and you can get these actual workflows done. This is an interface, right, that we can do that. The part that they announced here was that now the agents are going to be able to do this. So if we have an agent that is in Claude Cowork that I was talking about, it has access now to all of the same things that were in that flow. So we're getting all of this data interconnected, and Google has a really good, obviously, footing in its own ecosystem. It's going to try and keep people in that. Claude is going to be open and let people connect everything into it, which is really, really cool. And then ChatGPT, I think, is going the consumer route. So I'm not really focused on those for business. I still play around with it, but I'm sticking on Claude and keeping my eye on Google right now. So um, yeah, so Debbie was just saying I need to look into Google's Workspace. Yeah, if you haven't played around, I have a whole bunch of videos in this. Maybe what we'll do is I'll do one in the community. Just pop that if you haven't already, Debbie. Just put it in here because I think it's a good question. Go into the training sites community on this one here. And just we'll do AI tools and agents. If you want to just go and put a little reminder in here about what you want to see, and then kind of go and we can kind of talk about that because I think that's a good question about which tools are needed and which ones are not. The cool thing is that that question came up in the topical authority map that I was doing with the 7,500 questions that get generated, which was kind of neat. Yeah, so I'll show you one little trick here, and this is another one about preparing for the future, agreed or disagreed. One of the things that also was announced, and again, these are just things to keep in your back pocket. It doesn't mean change everything, but there was another one from Google called Web MCP. Yeah, let's do this one. Yeah, so here's the other one that's kind of interesting. And what this is, and again, this is the part that I've been following in the background. So you're going to hear a thing over the next couple months called Web MCP. If you're not familiar with MCP, those are those connectors that Claude has that allows your skills or your agents to go and talk to your Notion database or talk to your WordPress site or talk to your shopping cart or use a tool called Appify, for example, to scrape data. So MCP is the connector that allows Claude to connect to these tools, right? The part that they brought out here from Google, and this is an interesting one, is the stats that I've seen is that by the middle third quarter of this year, there's going to be more traffic by agents to websites than there is personal traffic to websites. So if that's the case and an agent comes to your campus, how is it going to know what the campus is about? What does it cover? What is it an authority on? What should it pay attention to? What's important? And that's what Web MCP does, is it organizes or it includes some fields for the agents when the agents come to your campus so that it knows what the actual campus is about, knows what pages are about. So it has a really good big picture, but it also can find specific parts of your campus that relate to what the agent needs, not what a person needs to see, what an agent needs to see. So that's something that's coming as well. And just me playing around because I'm too far ahead of myself. The one thing that I did with those topical authority maps and the 7,500 questions that are there, what I did is I actually had Claude start creating the FAQs for the 7,500 questions in this particular case, but these ones are all set up now. These are all written by Claude to answer the question that was in the topical authority map, but these are now all formatted with Web MCP so that if an agent comes here, there's now 15,000 FAQs that are about a particular topic. So that's just one of the bets that I'm kind of placing. You wanted to see something that was there. That's kind of what's happening. And I'm not worried about SEO on this stuff. I'm not worried about oh, someone's going to see it's AI generated. Of course it is, but it is all about specific questions that people have about the topic that the campus is about, and it's formatted for people to read if they wanted to, and the agents know what it's there, what it's for, and where it fits into the campus. which I think is probably going to be more important, especially in the education space, is what is your campus, and what are you with your personal brand? What are you the reference for? And if you don't have a campus and you're just going, I'm going to sell a course, that whole branding platform thing, I don't think it works. And the reason that I'm excited about WordPress is that if you are using softwares as a service for all the different parts of your business, it ends up, as an example, where you have to connect all of the shopping cart, your database, your LMS, your website part, your social media content. It means that you're going to have to get them to talk to each other. And if an agent goes to your CRM or goes to your knowledge base, but it doesn't know that you have a learning management software service over there, or your email marketing system is there, or your Notion database is there, if it has no reference point as to where this is, it's going to be, I think, less effective than if you have a central place to organize and have a platform that you can actually go and run in. So there we go. So what else we got here? Any other questions? Again, I get babbling on this stuff. I don't know if I apologize is the right word for it, but I just get excited about all the cool stuff that's happening. It is super exciting. I'm experimenting as fast as I can. There's no right way or wrong way to do this. I certainly do not have all the answers, but every time I do something here, I'm just sharing it to show you what works, what doesn't work, where I think things are going. And if it makes sense to you, of course, make sure to go and join the campus, like and subscribe, all of those cool things. I'm here to help you kind of go through that. So any more last questions? Google's probably uses API. Yeah, so probably, yeah, and by the time next year. Yeah, so Debbie, the other thing is if you haven't been there, I'm assuming you haven't, but make sure to go to AI Studio .google.com and you can start playing with all of these different things are here without an API key. If you're going to build out some of the actual apps that we've covered in other videos, you can get an API key from Google Cloud that will host all of these apps and actually get them to actually run. Did I do one here, for example? Yeah, so aistudio.com. Did I do an app on this one? Yeah, this is an app that I built actually just at, this is one that I built at AI Studio. What this was, so this is an actual app that I built. Took a couple prompts. Social media strategist and viral content engineer. Your goal is to transform long form video transcripts into 15 high engagement social media posts optimized for this. And it basically has everything to go and log in, register, and purchase this, and me get paid for it. So that was something that was done in AI Studio just for fun. So if you want to play around with apps or look how that goes and how it works, that would be wonderful. What are some other ones that we did here? There's one. These are some other codes to go and test some stuff here. And if you want to play around with apps, that's certainly a business model. I think, one thing that people that I've talked to and or have done things with applications, one of the problems is that you still have to market it. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to market it. And if you're going to market it and have applications as your business, I don't know how defensible it is anymore. This is something that gets built in an hour, the one that we just did there. So even if you build a great app and someone sees it, they can build the same app in an hour, and less than that if they're probably any good at programming. So you still have to market it, you still have to be there, and I don't know how you can actually make it too defensible right now. Again, depending on the market that you happen to be in. So, okay. Where's one Kelly was asking? Kelly was saying, you did mention in one of our classes that we don't have to do anything different in order for these connectors or agent to find us, right? Yeah, and I think that's a good question. I don't know the perfect answer for that one. However, And this is one of the other reasons I'm so big on YouTube. I have been, let me just see. Let's just try an experiment. I'm going to open up an experiment. And here's just one way that this actually shows up. I'm going to we'll open up a copy here of ChatGPT, and we'll go and do a new, I'm just going to go and do this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in just a question or a prompt. Let me just do what happens. I'm just going to say on this one, I want to try this too, because I got Whisper Flow to see if I can do it work properly. So I'm just going to try and do this with the Whisper Flow, which is the audio to text prompt. So tell me about building a privately branded campus for an education business. There we go, it worked. So here's one of the things that I noticed that start happening is that when it's giving answers in some of these things, what's going to happen is that some of the content that comes up, and we'll see if what happens here, is that the YouTube videos that I were doing, or I was being cited directly within some of the pieces that are here. So if a web search is done, there's one here showing up, or in research is done, if you have content that is relevant to the searches that people are doing, it may in fact show up. And I don't want to, this is the thinking model, so it's doing stuff here. Build the main rooms, it's actually going through the part. So I'm going to stop this. Do a search to find some examples of education businesses following this model. So let's see what happens. So my point is that if you have content that is relevant, it will start showing up for YouTube videos. Hopefully we'll be able to find one here. But again, it is, whenever it does a web search and your content is available and it's easily available and marked in a way that these tools get access to it, some of it may end up showing up. What else we got here? So it'd be interesting to see what happens. So I've had this happen a couple times where the YouTube videos that I've done have been referenced in any of the research that are doing. I don't have a perfect answer. I know in the consumer market, some of the people that I know have been able to do or do AI optimization as opposed to search engine optimization. And there are probably a couple different strategies on it, but it's not stuff that's external, it's internal stuff on the way that's actually gone and presented. So my stuff didn't show up here. I got to do a better job marketing it. Nest Labs. So we got some references starting to show up here. Oh, that's disappointing. Circle is one of the competitors that we run into. Rite of Passage, Combi Passage. So this is where it's getting additional pieces that are there. And then additional sources at the bottom. So there's the listing of sources that are actually being used and brought up. Mine didn't come up. Got to work harder on that. Doing a second brain. Maybe I didn't answer the right question. But there's a lot of references that actually went through to do that. So, if you have access available that is focused on a topic, it should start showing up in those particular pieces. What else we got here? I got a couple more minutes. Any other questions? Again, playing around with this. This is cool times, lots of fun. I hope everyone has the courage to break stuff as quickly as possible, learn, play around what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And again, there is no right way to do things right now. There's things to experiment with, knowing that I want to have an education business and impact people's lives. And if that is the goal and you're treating it as a business and you want to monetize it, figure out what processes that you have and or your need. And if you don't know what they are, one of the things that I do is I just say to Claude, it says, based on all of our discussions, what are the areas that we should create a skill for and or an agent, or what are the workflows that you can identify from all of our previous chats? and then just saying, build a skill to do that, create a skill to do that, create a skill to do that. And if there's something that is a process that you're following, not a task, just say, hey, build a plugin that uses any skills required to have that task completed. So you're already chatting, you're playing around. Have Claude, if you don't know what the process is, just have Claude go and ask, what can you identify? And then ask it to build it. You don't know how to do it. You don't have to know how to do it. You don't know how to code it. You don't need to know how to write web copy. Start thinking about being the boss as opposed to being the employee. And that's the cool part that we're all going to have fun with going through this. So there we go. Yeah, so Kelly was just asking too. Yeah, can you ask it? Yeah, just go and ask it. And a lot of times you just go say, do an SEO audit or create a skill that performs an SEO audit and or an agent availability audit, or call it whatever you want, or agent access audit of my website, and run it weekly and give me a report that tells me what's working, what's broken, what I need to fix. And then next time it runs, just say, make any changes that you need to fix that and have it run. Have it scheduled as Claude. Basically have it run and have it gone. Maybe you want a department later that manages the technical parts of your business. And that department manager might have your website as one part of it, your another part of your technical setup or questions you might be asking about cameras and microphones and recordings, what tools you're using on a regular basis, and start thinking about it. I want to hand that stuff off and then ask Claude to start doing it, or OpenClaw, or whatever, how advanced you are. These are the kinds of things that are happening now in the background, which is kind of neat. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. Love for you to join up the community. One of the things for me personally, just so that you know, is I have a sales manager now that will probably start working either today or tomorrow. So we'll see what actually happens in terms of the number of upsells that people who are not paid members yet, and or the community manager who knows who's lurking, who's been a member, how long they've been a member for, how many times they've logged in or not logged in, how many times they've come to an event or clicked on a link but not commented. Perhaps you may get some stuff where people are actually going and playing around with you on that one. So there we go. Okay, perfect. There we go. Hour and 32 minutes. Thank you again for everyone coming on. Like and subscribe to the channel. Join the community. It's James from trainingsites.io. Just here to help you make a difference from your own privately branded campus. Take care and expect the best.